like that person belonging to that minority is also getting all the best options. So there is a debate that should be because different people are getting benefit from different categories. Now, how this should be resolved? So, according to utilitarian theory, we need to see that which option is producing greatest happiness in greatest number of people. And according to that criteria, we will evaluate that whether we should keep the reservation system or we should remove the reservation system. So this was just one example uh, pertaining to the utilitarian theory. But again, the idea is we need to look at the consequences. All right, so this was utilitarianism. Now let's move to the next, that is right-based ethical theory. The right-based ethical theory was proposed by John Locke. According to this theory, the solution to a problem is by realizing that every person has the right. So live and let live is the basic philosophy behind this theory. So every individual has some rights. Like we all of us right to live, right to have a healthy life, liberty, having possession of certain things. So all these things are our basic rights. And according to right-based ethical theory, we need to evaluate every action in such a way that every action, any action of us should not, like, it is immoral if it is oppressing somebody else's right. If it is not hurting somebody else's right, then it is fine. That action is moral. So the total legitimacy of any action is based upon its effect on others' rights. That's what right-based ethical theory is. And so any action done by a person that would prevent a fellow being from living a good and happy life is considered immoral, moral, or unnatural. But this theory has a limitation. And what is that? In fact, every theory has a limitation. We are just highlighting this theory's limitation here, that it does not provide a hierarchy of rights. So it is difficult to reach an ethically right decision when the right of one person results in the right of another person being breached. Now, this is interesting. Some of the rights are sometimes conflicting with each other. If I exercise my right, some of my rights, they might breach your right. And then the conflict arises that, okay, whose right is supreme? So such hierarchy is not provided by this theory. And an example of such case is, let's say a person is racist. Racist is a person who discriminates people on the basis of race, black, white, brown, yellow. Okay. Now, a racist may say that it is my right to have an opinion. And that is true. It is everybody's right to have an opinion. We can have any opinion about anything. This is totally personal and everybody is allowed to have that. Now, the second right is freedom of expression. So if I have an opinion, I also, in addition to the right of having an opinion, I have the right to express my opinion freely. So now a racist person would say that, okay, if let's say that person is white and that white person is talking about some black person in a derogative manner, so that white person say that this is my right to have an opinion and then to express it publicly, that's totally fine. But on the other side, it is also a basic right of that black person not to get discriminated. So now when the white person is exercising his right, his or her right to have an opinion and express that opinion publicly, that action is basically, or that exercise of right is basically breaching the right of the other person, of the conflict. And this right-based ethical theory does not provide us a hierarchy or which are the rights which are above the other rights. So this is just one example, and there can be several other examples where the rights conflict, and then this right-based ethical theory is unable to provide us an ethical solution. So this was the right-based ethical theory. And the last one is duty-based ethical theory. And this duty-based ethical theory was proposed by Immanuel Kant. And according to this theory, every person has a duty to follow, which is accepted universally with no exception. So all of us have certain duties, like certain duties come from our profession. For example, if I'm teaching here, I'm the teacher and I get paid for this job. So it is my duty to teach you guys, and you are the students. It is your responsibility to study. But there are some other duties that all of us, being a human being, like it is our duty to be kind or nice or being honest or being truthful. These are like general duties for every human beings. And this duty based, every action will be evaluated on the basis of the duty, right? It is our duty to be honest, kind, generous, and peaceful. So all of us should be doing that, regardless of the consequences. Like I should always tell the truth, no matter. Okay, am I audible again? Anybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Actually, I think because of this electricity issue, the university's internet is also having trouble. But I hope it doesn't bother us again. Anyways, so this is the duty-based ethical theory. So with this, our discussion about the ethical theories is concluded. Anybody having any question about this? Any question or comments about the ethical theories? जी एथिकल थेरीज के बारे में आपको कोई क्वेश्चन है या कमेंट है और एनी क्वेश्चन वांट टू आस्क समथिंग अबाउट एथिकल थेरीज all right guys, if you do not have any question on ethical theories, then we can move to our next topic of discussion, and that is self-realization. So before starting our discussion about self-realization, I would like to get your feedback on this. That what do you guys think? What do we mean by self-realization? We have a pet word in Urdu for self-realization. So can anybody let me know what is the term that we use in Urdu for self-realization? क्या होती है सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन के लिए हम उर्दू में एक टर्म यूज करते हैं, वो क्या टर्म है? Ayan 2929. Ayan, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My
Okay,
internet is
Ayan,
not
क्या
working
होती है
properly.
सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन? Oh, okay. But
Sir,
now
actually,
I can
self-realization
hear.
is that if you are doing something wrong, you realize it by yourself.
Okay, if you are doing something wrong, you realize it by yourself. Okay. Any other idea about self-realization? उर्दू में क्या कहते हैं self-realization को?
Sir, I think Hudi is the word used for self-realization in Urdu, if I am not wrong.
I think Khudi is slightly different. Khudi is slightly different. It's more like being independent. I think. वैसे तो खुदी का concept जो है वो जरा broad. Even I might not have an exact idea about that, but
Sir, there is distortion in your voice, and we couldn't hear you at the moment.
okay, guys, I'm back. Uh, Unfortunately, the internet is having trouble, so that's why it's thrown out. Can you guys hear me now? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's great. So we were talking about self-realization. So what do you guys think when you hear the word of
Excuse,
self-realization?
excuse me, sir.
जी
Excuse me, sir.
जी जी
सर वो स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रही, स्लाइड शेयर नहीं हो
और
रही।
स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रही अच्छा ओके लेट मी
हाँ
शेयर
जी
इट
सर।
अगेन all right I hope now you guys can see the screen so
यस सर।
self-realization I want to hear something from you guys about self-realization क्या होती है
Sir,
self-realization
I think it's about your weaknesses and strengths and knowing about your potential and what are your abilities.
knowing about your potential like right okay जी anybody else आप में से कोई कुछ कहना चाहता है मैम आपकी आवाज ब्रेक हो रही है the word that we use in Urdu for self-realization is khud shanasi. That's the exact meaning of self-realization, as far as I know. Okay. Basic point of self-realization is knowing yourself in true sense, your strengths, your weaknesses, your potential, uh, what are your real desires, what motivates you, what discourages you, all these things, knowing and what is your real purpose, like what is your passion. So knowing all these things is a true self-realization. Like it's not about the minor things around us, but it's more like an in-depth analysis of our being. That is termed as self-realization. There are several different components or several different ways in which we can achieve self-realization. So we will be talking about those in this topic. Let's see. Let's dive into that. So self-realization is the ability of someone to reach his or her full potential. It can be seen as the ability to achieve everything that you are capable of without even knowing it. So when you know yourself in depth, you know your real potential, and then you strive to achieve your full potential. That is self-realization. And the ultimate benefit or the fruit of self-realization is that self-realization helps us in gaining control of our life. Control our life. If you read self-help books or watch videos on self-help, you will find that this control of our life, this is probably one of the biggest issues that people have in our era. That we like you find a lot of people complaining about their lives, that they don't have control over it. They are just leading life. The days are spending, the time is spending. They are doing some job, making money, having uh, like possessing certain things, but they say that we do not actually control these things. So self-realization, when you actually know yourself, that basically helps gaining control over our life, and that's the real fruit of self-realization. Now let's see what are the things which can help us in gaining the self-realization. First is create time for yourself. Now in the current times, the type of life that we are spending, it's in a lot of cases our life is monotonous. We have a schedule, like we wake up, we go to job, or we go to our school or university, we take classes, and then we do some work in the evening, and then we go to bed. Let's say if someone is leading this kind of life, and we repeat this every day. So this monotony, or in this schedule which is preoccupied, we do not find time for ourselves. And creating time for ourselves does not mean about like taking nap or exercising or being with friends and families. That is not the time for ourselves. The time is about relaxing our mind and soul, and then self introspection. By self introspection, we mean pondering upon ourselves. Try to find the strengths and weaknesses of our personality, and try to finding our real objective of our life. So the time that we spend in pondering upon these things and relaxing ourselves, that time is basically the time for ourselves. And if I think most of us, if we analyze our life, uh, we see that we do not have time for ourselves. And especially nowadays when we have smartphones, and there are WhatsApp groups, and there Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, you have subscribed to a lot of things, and you're getting emails. So in the current times, we are engaged all the time, sometimes with useful stuff and sometimes with useless stuff, and we don't have time for ourselves. So that is the first and foremost thing if we want to achieve self-realization, that we need to find time for ourselves. Leave our comfort zone, following a schedule, predefined schedule, and repeating that thing every day. That is basically living in the comfortable zone. Most of us are not willing to go beyond our comfort zone, and people say that the growth occurs beyond the comfort zone. So a lot of times we see that we are living the minimum required life. like whatever is required by my job or by my family, at the minimum level, like we try to just sustain that, and we remain in our comfort zone. We do not challenge our limits or boundaries, and that's something that we need to do if we want to truly, yeah, identify our potential. Because a lot of people do not know about their capabilities because they have never challenged their boundaries. Uh, so we should always challenge our limits. There is a saying, it says that do not limit your challenges, challenge your limits. So we should always challenge ourselves. The limits that we have defined around us, and most of the time those limits are in our mind. We need to break those limits, and the way to do that is to get outside of our comfort zone and get to know yourself. Actually, this is related to the first point that we discussed, that uh, we need to spend time on our have time for ourselves, and if we have that, then we will be able to know ourselves, and by knowing ourselves we discover our hidden desires and our likes and dislikes, the things that we want to change about ourselves. There are a lot of things that we do not like about our own self, but why we are unable to change them, it's because that we have never thought about those things in a careful manner, or we never analyze them. Although we dislike them, but we just keep on moving forward in our life. We never focus on those things, and we also need to identify the things that motivate us. Every individual has different source of motivation. Um, in I was going through some of the literature on this motivation thing, and they say that everybody needs to know his or her why. Why is important. When you know that why you are doing something, and if you have a strong why, then you will progress in life. If you do not have a strong reason for doing what you are doing, then you will just lead a life of being mediocre, and that's not that's not the that's not what self-realization means. Self-realization means achieving the excellence, and for that you need to find your why, or you need to find your motivation. Some people get motivated by their responsibilities. Like a lot of us are from maybe from humble backgrounds, and we have our families to support. Like some of us might have to support our parents, and everybody has to support his like immediate family, like we have spouse or we have kids. So those responsibilities might be a source of our motivation. Some people who are already affluent, and they are not driven by their responsibilities, but they have a desire to excel or to grow. They just enjoy the journey. uh, they just enjoy the journey of developing something. So in that process they grow as a person, as well as financially. They grow financially as well. So for all of us, it's important to know that what are the factors that motivate us, and we need to keep those things in our mind, and those things help us uh, like keep pushing forward in our life. So this is the third thing that we need to identify uh, regarding self-realization. Anybody having any question about these things that we have just discussed? Any question, guys? Or any comment? What can be the possible motivations for us? Can anybody share the source of motivation that he or she has?
Sir, I think it's very person to person.
Okay, person to person. Like for example.
For example, sir, you have already discussed about this. मतलब कि किसी की family background and family responsibilities is a can be a source of motivation. लाइक दिस इट्स सर ये पर्सन टू पर्सन, हर पर्सन की अपनी मोटिवेशन होती है। तो कोई अपनी डिज़ायर्स के पीछे भागता है, कोई अपनी फैमिली के लिए, फैमिली उसको मोटिवेट उसका मोटिवेशन का सोर्स बनती है। और कोई सर और कोई दिखावे के लिए, ठीक है, अब मतलब कि मेरे पास अच्छा घर हो, अच्छा ये वो, बस लोगों को दिखाने के लिए। इस तरह की बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं। कुछ नेगेटिव मोटिवेशंस भी होती हैं, पॉजिटिव मोटिवेशंस भी होती हैं। और जो मैंने दिखावे के लिए अभी मैंने बात की, तो आई थिंक इट वुड बी इन द कैटेगरी ऑफ नेगेटिव मोटिवेशन। और पॉजिटिव मोटिवेशन
कुछ
तो
लोग दिखावे के लिए भी करते हैं, राइट?
यस सर, यस सर। तो
Okay,
दीज आर
can
द
anybody, all right, can anybody give us some more examples on this? Shayan Javed, are you there? Shayan, are you there? No. Shahzeb Hamid. Shahzeb, are you there? Shahzeb is not there. Umar Parvez.
Yes, sir.
Ji Umar. So what do you think? What are different sources of motivation? क्या कोई और example या कोई और ऐसी चीज जो आपको motivate करती है personally? What do you think?
सर हर बंदे की वैरी करती है। हर बंदा अपने मुताबिक करता है। अब कुछ लोगों की होती है कि मतलब कि वो अपनी क्लास फेलोज को जब देखते हैं कि वो मतलब कि मेहनत कर रहे हैं, कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो वो उनको देख के कुछ लोग करते हैं। कुछ अपने फैमिलीज को देख के करते हैं कि मेरे कजन्स या रिश्तेदार हों इस तरह, तो वो अगर मेहनती हों या मतलब कि पढ़ने वाले हों तो फिर भी कुछ कर रहे होते हैं कि हमने भी कुछ करना है अपनी लाइफ में।
Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, guys, let me take your attendance. Today we'll stop our discussion here and we'll continue our discussion on self-realization in next class, inshallah.